So you've decided to improve your running. You've downloaded a plan off the internet, or you've signed up to a coaching program, or even you've signed up to work one-to-one with a running coach. How do you know that your running is improving? How do you know that you're getting the results that you're paying for? So at the end of the day, if you're putting in the time, effort and money, and you want to know that you're actually getting something in return for that, so how do you know that? Well, what I found most people will do is they'll go down that approach, and they'll get a plan, they'll get a program, and they'll tailor it to okay, I want to run a half marathon, or I want to be able to improve my half marathon PB time, or 5k, whatever it is. And they'll follow the plan, try and do their best to follow along with whatever it says, and then wait until the race day to find out, well, did it work? Did I get the improvements I was looking for? And you might get some idea along the way, but it's basically down to that final race of, well, did I make it or not? Did it work? And the problem with this is there's so many factors come into play. So obviously you've got the effect of the race day itself. You know, the weather might be an impact. If it's too hot, it's going to slow you down. If it's too cold, if it's raining heavy, if it's windy, what if the course is hillier than the one you've ran previously? All these different factors. What if you're slightly under the weather on the day? All these various factors that come into play in terms of the actual performance. So you don't necessarily know whether that's the conditions, or is that the actual training plan, is that the work you did. It's really difficult to tell with those sort of situations. And also, you know, the plan itself, in terms of how do you monitor the progress through the plan? If you're following along with the sessions that you're being asked to do, how do you know that you're working at the right level and getting the results that will influence changes in your running performance along the way? So what I typically do with my clients is I work with setting a performance level. So when I start working with them initially, I'll gauge their performance. That might be based off a 5k time or 10k time or now a race time, or it can sometimes just be going out and running with them just to get a few sort of ideas of where they're at in terms of their natural pace and what they can do if they push themselves. And I'll use that to create a performance measure, so something that I'll base their training plans off. And then what that means is whether you're doing an anaerobic session or a VO2 max aerobic power session, or whether you're doing threshold training for your lactate threshold or your easy runs, whatever it is, you'll be very clear on what pace you should be achieving for each of those. So if you're running a 400 meter fast anaerobic threshold pace run, you'll know exactly how long it should take you to complete that repetition. And you know, your rest intervals, etc., then are based around that. And what you'll find is over time that you'll repeat some of these sessions, and you'll start to hit those numbers a little bit easier than before. So that way what you're doing is you're checking in on that performance improvement almost on a session by session basis, because you know what your targets are, and you can measure the way you feel and the performance that you achieved when you run those sessions. And also then we've got other factors that you can look at to sort of get a bit more detail around your performance. So say you've run 8 lots of 400 meter at a certain pace with a certain rest period in between, and then a few weeks later you come back and you repeat that session. We can look at, well, how did you do on each of the intervals? Was there a variation across? How did that compare to the previous time? Also, what was your heart rate like this time? Did your heart rate maintain at a lower level? Was it at a higher level? What factors come into play? And we can use those then to adjust your performance. So typically I won't change somebody's performance level more than once every 3 to 4 weeks, because your performance can vary on a session by session or a week by week basis just because of your natural state. Now, some days you might be better fueled on a run or better hydrated. Other days you might be slightly under the weather but not realizing it just yet. You know, there may be something just affecting your breathing or just affecting your performance in some way. So changing it too often is not good either. So I tend to leave a good 3 to 4 weeks between changes, and also that gives you time to vary the sessions as well, and just make sure that you're not just having a one-off good day, for example. So what we do is we look at the results on each session, and then I'll adjust the training level based on those results, and that will change your pace guides for each of the different session types then. So you're always working at the right level for your current performance. And that makes it a really good way for runners to check in as they're progressing through a plan on, well, am I seeing progress here? Am I developing as a runner, or am I now stagnant and just performing at the same level, just repeatedly doing lots of training? Because at the end of the day, if we put in the effort into following a training plan or a coaching program, you want to see a result for that effort and result for that money and time you're investing in there. So having a way to monitor that is a really powerful tool, and that's what you get with the performance measures that we use in our coaching programs. And also, it's not just down to those numbers. A lot of the time you need to think about the sort of subjective measures as well. So you might do a run and think, well, I feel a particular way, and you do the run again later on. It's like, oh, actually, I feel better with that time. I feel better with that running pace now. I can manage that, and I don't feel maybe my breathing is quite as hard, or my breathing rate is I'm holding this particular pattern rather than dropping to a faster pattern. So there's subjective measures there as well, and a lot of the time that's difficult to sort of measure and remember unless you're taking the time and effort to record that sort of information, which is why when I'm running with clients, whether that's face-to-face or through online programs or in virtual programs, I always suggest completing a running journal after each session. And what this gives you is an opportunity to think about now your basic stats, like your distance, your average pace, your heart rate max and average, your time, the terrain, maybe even the shoes that you're using, these sort of facts of the event, but actually thinking about, well, how did I feel on that run? How did I feel going into it? How do I feel at the end of it? These sort of more subjective measures are a really good way of being able to look back and say, well, actually, last time I ran that distance or that actual route, I ended up feeling like this after it. And this time, actually, I'm not feeling quite as bad, and maybe the pace was different. And it's a really good way of just keeping on track with those measures as you go through. And the other thing that I'll always get my clients to think about is, what are your goals for the training? Now, it might be, if we go back to what I said at the start, you might download a plan or buy a plan because you want to run a half marathon or improve your half marathon time. But what is the actual plan that you have? What's your goals for that plan? And, that might be getting more specific with the measurements. I want to knock 3 minutes off my PB time the next time I run the half marathon, or I want to run it without stopping, or I want to run and feel in control of my breathing all the way around, or non-stop, or whatever it is, but getting very specific about the goal that you have, so that when you come to measure your performance improvements through the training, then you always know that you're working towards this particular goal. So if we don't set a goal, then we're aimless. We're trying to improve, but we don't know in what particular way or what we're heading for. It could be that actually what you need to improve on is your lactate threshold because it's your endurance suffering, or maybe it's your top end speed, so it's more your anaerobic training you need to improve on. So getting very clear on what your goal is and what that means for you is a really powerful way of measuring that performance as you work through a coaching plan. So as I said, all of this is what we do as standard on the coaching programs that we run with BeFit Coach. And if you're interested in finding out more about any of our programs, then I'll make sure there's a link down below somewhere, or just head to our website at be-fit-coach.co.uk. And if you look in the top menu, you'll see the online store there. You can have a look, and our coaching programs are sort of available in there to have a look at. And while you're there, why not sign up for our free download to help you choose your next running shoes, because this is a really hot topic for runners in terms of how do I know the right shoes. And for some people that means going to a specialist shoe shop and getting your gait measured. Other people, it might just be trial and error. What I give you in that document is my version and my guide, the one I use for choosing my own shoes or suggesting to my clients, or even when I've taken clients shopping for my shoes with them. It's the same process I use there. So it's a really useful way of making sure that you're getting something that works well for you. And while you're doing that, you'll be added to my email list. So when I release new blog posts, which I tend to do every week, or if I'm putting an offer out for a new program or something like that, you'll get first notification, because I always send those out to my email subscribers before anyone else. So the form should be on the website somewhere. Just have a look, fill that in, and get on the list. Make sure you get notifications. That's it for this week. So I'm Barry Evans, BeFit Coach, and I look forward to speaking to you soon. Happy running. Bye for now.